Imagine pitching to a batter that has 714 career home runs. If you grew up playing any sorts of sports, then you have heard of Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth was known for a lot of things, much more than I can talk about. I will be talking about what his childhood was like growing up, his fantastic baseball career, and lastly, the Babe Ruth Foundation. Today I will be telling you about Babe Ruth's childhood, baseball career, and the Babe Ruth Foundation. I will start off by talking about his childhood growing up. According to biographyonline.net, Babe Ruth was born on February 6, 1895, in Baltimore, Maryland. He grew up in a house of 8 siblings. His childhood was tough growing up with that many siblings. It also didn't help. His parents owned a tavern, which caused them to work long hours to be able to support his brothers and sisters. Babe Ruth grew up with an alcoholic dad and died when Babe Ruth was in his 20s because of a street fight. As Babe Ruth got into college, he stated that if it wasn't for baseball, I'd be either in a penitentiary or a cemetery. Next, I will be talking about Babe Ruth's baseball career. According to Wikipedia.org, Babe Ruth started his MLB career as a left-handed pitcher for the Boston Red Sox and wasn't known at all for being an outstanding slugging outfielder. According to BabeRuth.com, Babe Ruth's batting average was .342. He hit 714 home runs, had a 2,873 hits, 2,213 RBIs, and a 94-46 win-loss pitching record. And lastly, he had an ERA of 2.28. He accomplished those amazing records in only 22 seasons of playing. Babe Ruth will always be remembered for his amazing ability to play the game of baseball and will always be one of the best players to ever play the sport. Lastly, I will be talking about the Babe Ruth Foundation. According to collection.baseballhall.org, the Babe Ruth Foundation was a non-profit organization that focused on helping unprivileged children. This foundation was established prior to his death, which did not continue after his death to cancer. According to BabeRuthCentral.com, after his baseball career, Babe was known for having a love for kids. Babe is known for having a terrible childhood, and he didn't want to see kids growing up the same way he did, so he started to give back to those in need. His foundation wasn't only giving back to the kids in need, he also put the U.S. government promote bonds for the war efforts and did pay forward to that as well. Now that I have talked about the 3 main points, let's jump into the conclusion. In conclusion, I have talked about Babe Ruth's life, starting with his childhood, then his baseball career, and lastly, the Babe Ruth Foundation. Now that you have heard me talk about Babe Ruth's life accomplishments, please take time and research all of the other things that made him who he is today. Thank you all for listening to my speech about the amazing Babe Ruth. This will conclude my speech, and now I will open the floor to questions. She asked, what team did Babe Ruth end his career for the MLB? Many people say Babe Ruth ended his career with the New York Yankees, but he ended his career with the Boston Braves. And that will conclude my question and answer session.